Trump spreads terror in Iran after the United States Armed Forces attacked the Islamic Revolutionary Guard in southern Iran. And now Trump takes an even tougher stance this Friday, May 29, 2026. After attacks attributed to the Tehran regime against vessels, drones, and interests linked to the United States in the Strait of Hormuz region, Washington responded. It denied Iranian propaganda about an American aircraft being shot down and kept up the pressure on sensitive points in Bandar Abbas, Bushehr, and Jam. The scene is simple. Iran tries to show strength to gain an advantage at the negotiating table. But Trump uses each provocation to increase the pressure, expose the fragility of the Revolutionary Guard, and make it clear that agreements will only happen if Tehran accepts real limits. What did the regime try to hide? Why did Trump move so aggressively now? How did the Guard become a target in southern Iran itself? I'll tell you all about this in a moment. If you like this kind of straightforward and no-nonsense content, consider subscribing because we have videos like this every day. Attention increased after the Revolutionary Guard claimed to have attacked a base linked to the United States in response to an American action near Bandar Abbas airport. The Iranian version was released by the Tasnim agency, which is linked to the regime itself, with the threat of a harsher reaction if Washington repeated the attack. But the American response came at a different pace. The United States Central Command stated that its forces shot down Iranian drones and struck a control station in Bandar Abbas that was reportedly ready to launch more attacks. In practice, the confrontation turned into a direct show of force in southern Iran. The most delicate point came from Bushehr. There, Iranian state television claimed that a United States aircraft had been destroyed in the Jam region. The local governor, Masoud Dangestani, said that the sound of the explosion was linked to air defense against hostile aircraft. The Revolutionary Guard tried to turn this into a propaganda victory, but Washington denied it. The U.S. Central Command said that no U.S. aircraft was shot down and that all aerial assets were accounted for. That's where political terror comes in for Tehran. The regime announces triumph, aversion quickly fades, and the narrative of strength turns into a sign of nervousness. Trump doesn't need to give in to the Revolutionary Guard's haste. The regime tries to provoke a disorganized reaction because it knows that an open war helps Tehran unite its internal factions against an external enemy. The American strategy is different. Washington responds when necessary, but doesn't give Iran control over timing. In the last few hours, the Strait of Hormuz region, open government, helps Tehran unite its factions. The Israeli press reported that the Iranian regime fired warning shots at 4 ships that were trying to cross the passage toward the Persian Gulf. The justification released by Iranian state media was that these vessels had not completed the required coordination with the security forces. Kuwait has now moved to the center of the crisis. The information released by Reuters indicates that Kuwaiti forces intercepted a ballistic missile fired toward the nation's territory, which hosts a large American base. This detail matters because the Iranian regime is not only targeting the sea. It tries to increase the cost for U.S. allies in the Gulf, testing air defense, diplomatic response, and military patience. Kuwait's condemnation showed that the provocation affected an Arab nation allied with the Americans and opened the way for a stronger regional response. Trump's calculation is precisely about this point. If he accepts a weak deal, the Iranian regime comes out with the image of victorious resistance. If he launches a broad attack without choosing the right time, the Revolutionary Guard will try to turn its own defeat into internal mobilization. That's why the White House keeps the negotiations alive, but without handing Tehran a political victory. Reuters reported that the United States and Iran have reached a preliminary understanding to extend the ceasefire. The government is in contact regarding the American response on the ground. The Republican government trumped Hormuz, but the final approval still depends on Trump. And on the Iranian side as well, there is talk, but there is no blank check. J.D. Vance's statement reinforced that. The American vice president said that Washington hasn't gotten there yet, although it's close. This means that the Trump administration is willing to negotiate but does not accept theatrics. Tehran wants to lift blockades, ease sanctions, and regain economic breathing room. Washington wants guarantees about navigation, military containment, and Iran's nuclear program. The dispute is not just about an exchange of fire in Buxera or Bandar Abbas, it's about who will dictate the final price of the crisis, and for now Trump holds the pen. The Revolutionary Guard tries to appear in control, but the regime's own behavior shows cracks. One branch of the government claims victory, another denies any agreement, another threatens the American base, another spreads the story of a downed aircraft, and then US Central Command responds. This back and forth reveals a regime under pressure both internally and externally. The military wants to show power, the negotiators want to ease the pressure, and the propaganda wants to sell victory. But the real battlefield shows downed drones, a control station hit, an intercepted missile, and a contested response. This crisis in southern Iran has an important difference. Trump is not just reacting to the current attack, he's using pressure to break the logic of the Revolutionary Guard. Southern Iran has become the center of this clash because it concentrates military ports, maritime routes, Revolutionary Guard bases, and cities close to strategic facilities. Bandar Abbas appears as a key point because it is connected to naval activity. Bushehr and Jam make the news because of the explosions, the air defense, and the regime's attempt to turn noise in the sky into a victory against the United States. The Gulf of Oman and the Strait of Hormuz are the arena where Trump measures Tehran's real courage. It's not a speech in an auditorium, it's pressure, radar, drone, missile, and political decision. The American operation started at the beginning of May to restore shipping in the Strait of Hormuz helps explain the moment. In that operation, the United States claimed to have destroyed small Iranian vessels, intercepted missiles and drones, and used ships, helicopters, aircraft, and underwater assets to protect the maritime flow. This authorization changes the temperature of the crisis because the Revolutionary Guard knows that every provocation can be met with an immediate response. Trump uses this advantage to negotiate from a position of strength, not because the crisis is simple, but because the Iranian regime comes to the table with accumulated costs. Shipping suffers, internal factions compete for the narrative. The Revolutionary Guard tries to present itself as a superpower, but it depends on state propaganda to claim victories that Washington denies. With each false Iranian victory, Trump gains an argument to say that Tehran is not ready for a reliable agreement. Now the next step depends on a political choice. Trump may approve an extension of the ceasefire if he sees a concrete advantage, but he could also let the Revolutionary Guard bleed politically in its own confusion. Iran wants quick relief. The United States wants a verifiable commitment. I am Milson Alves, an international relations analyst, and my purpose is to keep you well informed with the truth every day. The news links are in the video description. Like this video, subscribe to the channel, and at the end, check out the comments so you can be even more engaged with the Milson Alves community.